Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn Clo3D from the bottom up. We're going to make a t-shirt and you're going to learn the basic tools and user interface. If you're looking for more advanced tutorials on Clo3D, check out my channel. I've got lots of advanced stuff there, but this is a beginner tutorial to get you started. Let's go! First things first, let's start with an avatar. Clo3D comes loaded with ready-to-use avatars that you can easily drag and drop and resize using the avatar window. You can also import your own avatars, created in MakeHuman, MetaHuman, Mixamo, or other platforms. Let's drag in an avatar and change the materials to a solid color using the property editor. Any fabric or surface can be edited here. Look at the texture map for the avatar and double-click the texture icon to see the image map. You can change the fabric pattern, add normal maps for depth, displacement for dimension, and adjust the color. Let's give Thomas some pink, very shiny hair. Above the property editor is the object browser. Similar to the world outliner or layers palette in other software, it defaults to fabric. And as you add more fabrics, this will populate. You'll also find buttons, buttonholes, top stitching, trims, and grading here. Double-click to access controls for each item in the property editor. At the bottom, you have three views: 2D only, 3D only, and a split screen. Typically, I work in the 2D first, and then the split screen, and finally 3D, and then back and forth a bit. Navigate to your modular library in the 3D window and add trousers by selecting the front and back pattern blocks. Double-click and add them pre-sized to your avatar. It's a great way to get started with the base pattern that you can later edit in the 2D window. Okay, let's go to the 2D window. Along the top are various tools, and we'll focus on a few key ones. A is for the Transform Pattern tool, Z is for the Edit Pattern tool, X for the Add Point Split Line tool, C for the Curve tool. We will also use the Rectangle tool and the Polygon tool. These are base drawing tools to start with. Select all pattern pieces with the A tool and move them aside. Grab the Polygon tool, similar to drawing shapes in Adobe Illustrator, and create a basic t-shirt shape starting at the neckline. Close the shape by clicking where you started. Use the Z tool to right-click the center line and choose Unfold with Symmetric Editing. Now, anything done to the left side reflects on the right. Use the A tool to copy and paste the pattern to the right. Adjust the neckline with the Z tool by pulling the Bezier handles and moving it up with the arrows on your keyboard. In the 3D pattern window, navigation is simple. Right-click and drag to orbit, center mouse button click and drag to pan, and scroll wheel to zoom. Right-click the back pattern to flip it, and use the gizmo to position the piece at the back. Today we'll use two different types of sewing tools. One is the segment sewing tool, and that will just sew one section to another section simply by clicking, moving, and then clicking again. The other is the free sewing tool, and that will sew segments by clicking once, dragging, clicking again, and then repeating. Click, move the mouse, and click again. It's not a click and drag, it's click, move, and then click. Select a sewing tool and click once on the front shoulder, then once on the back to ensure the sewing is not twisted. This creates symmetric sewing because we unfolded with symmetric editing. Simulate with the spacebar. Adding a collar. So in the 2D window, use the Z tool to select the neckline. Right-click and offset as internal line, choosing 1 inch. Right-click the line, select Cut and Sew, and do the same for the back pattern. Delete the unnecessary sewing along the top edges using the Edit Sewing tool, and then reconnect using the Segment Sewing tool. It's a little tricky, so you have to zoom in and out in order to select the sewing that you want to delete. Now you can make some adjustments to the shoulder line and the side seams to make it fit more naturally. Use the Z tool and shift select the anchor points, then move them to the left. It should update the right side as well because you've used symmetric editing. If you want to adjust the curve lines, you'll have to adjust those individually. Creating sleeves. Make a rectangle about 1.5 squares wide by 4 squares tall. Use the X tool to add points and the Z tool to adjust their position. Click C for the Curvature tool to round the sleeve cap. Right-click the sleeve and choose Symmetric Pattern with Sewing. Position the sleeves using the gizmo. Now we're going to sew them on. We'll use the Free Sewing tool. Sew the left sleeve cap from the front pattern, then sew the back to the far side, back pattern. Remember, near to near and far to far. Hit Simulate and hit it again once the sleeves drape. Orbit under and use your Segment Sewing tool to complete the job. Now let's wrap this up. Go to the fabric section in your library and find jersey knit. Drag one onto the closest pattern. Now it appears in the object browser. Drag it onto the rest of the pattern pieces except for the collar. Find ribbed cotton in the fabric window for your collar and drag it on. Double-click the fabric in the object browser and back to the property editor. For the shirt, let's change the color to pale blue. For the color, we need desaturation unchecked, and then we can adjust the color. Finally, let's add a logo. This is our department logo for the Department of Textiles, Merchandising, and Fashion Design at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. It's a PNG file. Go to your Graphics tab and add it now. Then drag it onto your shirt. Boom, you just made your first digital design.